Yeah, I'm totally fine with that, man.
All right, please.
Totally fine with that. All right. Ooh. All right, what is happening, YouTube and Weight Loss Warriors? It's your boy C-Dub, and I'm back with a special guest, Jimmy. Jimmy has been doing intermittent fasting for how long, buddy?
About 18 months.
18 months. And so I wanted to get him on here because he has just an incredible story. I wanted to get that story out to you guys and hear all the details about his successes and his struggles and everything. So let's start with the question everybody's going to want to know, which is how much have we lost?
Lost about 105, between 105 and 110 pounds.
Wow, total. That's impressive, man. Congratulations. You must feel like a whole new person.
Yeah, man, it's in every way possible. It's been life-changing for sure. Mentally, physically, obviously.
How did you find out about intermittent fasting?
So it's crazy, man. I'm not a guy that's been like, I've struggled with weight, all my life kind of thing. I've always been a big guy, and I'm 6'4", so compared to like you, man, I can carry 50 pounds, maybe a little different than a lot of folks. So I didn't really my weight didn't start really getting out of control until I had my daughter, who's 7 now. And I had, always been, big, but again, I'm a big frame guy. So it was July 4th weekend, specifically 2018. I was with some friends, and to this day, I still don't know why, but I just asked them. I said, "Hey, you guys got a scale?" And I knew over the years I had been creeping up, but I had no clue, what I had gotten to. So I jumped on a scale that night, and I weighed 317 pounds, and it just rocked me, man. It rocked me emotionally, had no clue there. So you understand my personality, man. I'm and this is true of like dieting or eating. I'm an all or nothing guy. So I've always been where I won't start something unless I feel like I could do it, forever. And so just a wild example, if a cable company comes at me with some offer, I'll say, don't give me this 3-month introductory offer. Tell me what I'm going to be paying, into the future. That's how my philosophy on everything. So I would just start small. Like when I saw that, I said, I knew I had to change something. So I said, if nothing else, I'm going to change what I eat for lunch. Because my lunch, I would say historically, has been my most garbage meal of the day. I'm on the road a lot. So I just said, I'm going to change just what I eat for lunch. And so I did that for a few weeks. And, I had lost a few pounds by cleaning that up. But I was just talking to a friend of mine, one of my closest friends. He said, "Hey, it was funny. Is this guy is what most of us would consider in shape. Athlete, college athlete guy. But he was his weight had gotten up higher than he wanted it. So he introduced me to it. Basically, that's a long way to say a friend of mine had done a little research and he put me on it. And I remember the very first day I tried it, or the very first day he mentioned it to me, I was like, dude, you're crazy. I would lose sleep over if I had to go fast for 8 hours, to do some blood work. I was like, I'd lose sleep over that. So sitting around thinking I'm going to sit around for 16 hours, you out your mind. So it's crazy how that's progressed.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that in a second, but I wanted to touch on something in there because you mentioned that, like, the changing of lunch, and I know you watch the channel all the time and you're in support of it, but I think it's something I try to get my viewers to understand is that it's not about changing everything at once. It's about making little teeny steps in the right direction. So can you give it a little example of how, other than lunch, the step went from, okay, I'm going to do this, and it just escalated into, now you're out and about walking instead of sitting around. How did all of that kind of stuff come together for you?
Yeah. So, once I learned about intermittent fasting and I sat through I remember sitting through my very first 16-hour fast. I didn't really transition. There wasn't any more steps between cleaning up lunch to fasting. Like once I learned about it, I tried it the first couple of times, and then I've been fasting ever since. And so we're talking about a matter of maybe 3 weeks. my intermittent fasting journey started, after my best friend's wedding, which was about the 9th of August. So, that was a month period. And once I learned about it, fought through my first 16-hour fast. And it's been history since.
Are you still doing 16 or do you do longer than that?
No, I do. So, one thing I say to you a lot when we communicate is, I kind of mix and match everything. So, no, in general, I don't go any days fasting less than 16 hours, but I'm generally OMAD during the week, and only just because that's just what I do, But sometimes, like this week, I did a 72-hour fast this week, just for the heck of it. But on the weekends, I'm a lot more flexible. Sometimes it's a 12 or 14-hour fast. But I'm OMAD generally during the week. Just because I'm at work, I'm busy. It's super easy, to do that. And then I'll usually about once a month try to do an extended fast, at least 42-hour fast. But no set schedule. I just kind of do it on the fly.
Yeah, no, I try to tell people that all the time. You got to figure out what works for you. And one of the things there too is, I think in the time we are now, a lot of us aren't getting a chance to go to work, because you hit the nail on the head. My wife's this way. Monday through Friday, she's OMAD, right? And the weekend comes and she has more time, and that creates boredom, which creates hunger, right? So it's really difficult for us to do OMAD on the weekends. And plus you want to be social on the weekends and see people and, all that kind of stuff. So I think that being flexible on the weekends is a good thing. And even the people now in the situation we are now, we have more time. It's okay to be a little flexible now and maybe not lose on our journey, and just try to maintain till we can figure out what the future is going to have and how our world's going to change after this virus,
100%. Yeah, I thought too, obviously there's no silver lining in this mess we have, but for sure, man. So even though I consider myself a experienced, fasting person, I've been doing it this long, I can rip off a 72-hour fast really without putting much thought into it at this point. But I think I have, at its core, some disordered eating. So, I'm able to work from home from time to time. And when I'm at home, fasting's more difficult for me than when I'm at work, or in the office. So even a 16-hour fast is not just, is not that easy when I'm at home. So a lot of times I tailor that. So, if I'm at home, a lot of times I'll eat like a late lunch and then carry that into a fast where I won't eat again, and then so yeah, 100%. I think for sure a lot of people are seeing that, and I do eat, bored eat, man. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, and it's a real thing.
Oh yeah, that's why the reason I do OMAD, I stay to just OMAD, is because for me it takes the thinking out of it, if that makes sense. I know I'm just gonna eat once, and if my wife says let's go to lunch, and I say okay, and we go get some lunch, that's it. You know what I mean? So I'll move my window, but I won't compromise on the one time. So because it's just, for me, easy to go. But I totally see where being more flexible now that we're at home is something a lot of people are going to need to be, because this is quite frankly something that we don't we didn't account for. Nobody sat around and planned for this. So it's put everybody in a pinch, from finances to school to eating and everything. I mean, even the YouTube channel's taking hits, man. I'm not getting the views I got. It's a really weird, crazy time, man. I'll tell you what. But I don't know what your thoughts are about how navigating that, with weight loss and all that, but it's crazy.
It does 100%. It has so many wrinkles. One, just the stress part of it. A lot of people are going through stress that they never have. Stress eating is an issue for a lot of people. Bored eating is you can be totally carefree and not stressed about a thing in the world, but still eat, have boredom eating issues. And so if that, if there's a Twinkie sitting 10 feet away from you, you know what I mean? You may not be hungry, but that Twinkie might sound good, but so I think this this time it's just so uncharted for everybody that, I think, yeah, the bored eating, the stressed eating, and no doubt, I think it adds another wrinkle to it for sure.
Well, let's look back at the 105 pounds. So tell me what's different now and as compared to what it was before.
I mean, obviously the way you feel. I mean, carrying an extra 100 pounds is, when you're doing it, you don't realize how taxing that is on your body. I was wearing at my height, I was wearing a 44 size pants. So I wear like a 36 now. And those, I'm still not, I don't know where my target is, but I'm still have a little bit of weight to lose. So that these 36 are starting to feel a little bit loose, but obviously how you feel physically, but man, feel better about yourself. That has a huge impact. You just being at the beach, man, you don't mind taking your shirt off, whereas you would never take your shirt off, when you're 317 pounds. And then, you always talk about the non-measurables of fasting, the benefits, how it saves you money, saves you time. That's one of the things Dr. Funk said I love so much. Fasting doesn't cost you time, it saves you time. Doesn't cost you money, it saves you money. And it doesn't make things more complex, it makes things easier, So those things, obviously. And yeah, I mean, there's not being overweight, man. It's I don't know. It's just hard to describe how much that's changed.
Man, I feel you, and everything you said is 100% right. People all the time in my personal life are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, how don't you do it? Like, I don't understand. Like, when you're in the moment, of course, now it's easy for me to look back on and say that those things when beforehand, how I thought was different. But man, life is so much easier when you have the time, when you have all the things, the money you've saved and all that. But I think that you hit the nail on the head with all of that stuff. And I think that being sick is how I describe it, because it's the only way I can describe it. When you're obese, or when I was obese, I was sick and didn't even realize I was. I felt like that's how everybody that was 40 years old felt. You know what I mean? Or 38 or 36. I'm like, everybody feels like crap. And then you lose weight and you realize, whoa, I don't feel like crap, And so many people complain all the time that you feel like everybody feels terrible. But in the reality, that extra weight really drains your I guess you'd call it your soul, your inner self. You know what I mean?
100%. Well, so two things I want to follow up on that for real quick. On the latter part. So yeah, I mean, one thing that stands out to me is, even when I was at my heaviest, I was still very active. I do a lot. Not exercise. I'm not in the gym, but sorry about the sun. Not in the gym, but I mean, I'm very active doing stuff on the weekends. So I would say for the last few years, I noticed like on Monday mornings, my legs would be so sore. And, we have a split little home. So we go, I go up and down the stairs, who knows how many times on a Saturday and Sunday. And, it only happened on Mondays. I only really felt that real difficult. I wouldn't say difficult to get out of bed, but just very, very uncomfortable on Monday mornings. And it don't happen anymore. And I realized that, 100 pounds, just carrying just to give you an idea. I mean, I would, like I have a Fitbit now, so I kind of have an idea of like, how active I am from a walking perspective. I would say just even when at my height on a Saturday and Sunday, I'd be in the 20,000+ step range, just doing regular activities of daily living. And so I know I was beating on my legs and my knees and stuff just based on the way I felt, on Monday morning. So that, that's significant. And when I pick up my daughter, who's 52 pounds, I mean, I'm like, man, 52 pounds is a lot of weight, that's half of what I was carrying, and when you put it, into that, that perspective, man, it's just astonishing to realize, what that extra weight can do to your body over time. Something else I want to really definitely hit though, Chris, is, you talked about people say, how do you do it? And you're saying, well, how don't you do it? So one thing I think can get lost is, as experienced intermittent fasting people, it's so easy to talk about how easy it is. It's so easy to talk about how easy it is, and we don't get hungry, and how, sometimes you have to make yourself eat kind of thing. I think it can get lost is at the beginning, it's not that easy. I remember to this day sitting down, fighting through my first couple 16-hour fasts, and, you talk about it too, baby steps, just increase the distance between, before lunch just by an hour a day as you build up to it. I think that's such huge advice. But your body, you do develop that fasting bone, that fasting muscle like you talk about. But, it does take some willpower, getting used to it. And it's not just a light switch that is that easy. You do adapt to it. And, I think you get a lot of momentum as well once you start seeing the weight come off. That just helps make it easier, and it makes it easier to fight through it. At some point, you do realize that, yes, this is easy. It's, I went from fighting through a 16-hour fast to, like I said, ripping off a 72-hour fast. It's just not that big of a deal. And so I do encourage people to do baby steps. When I talked to my mom about starting this as a journey, I said, if you only fast 12 hours a day, and if you did that for 2 weeks, you're not really scratching the surface on the benefits of fasting, but you're kind of developing that fasting muscle. You're starting a routine, you're getting a feel for it, and I just think that's huge. I would rather somebody fast 12 hours a day than not fast at all.
100%. No. And you did touch on something there, and it's something I'm guilty of too. And I'll explain to you what I think happens. I think what happens is, so now I am almost, it's March. Wow. I just realized, here's something crazy. I just realized that I passed my start date of intermittent fasting for the second year without even doing a video or noticing because of this virus. I started on the 15th of March. So now I've got to do a video of 2 years of this life. But with all that said, that's crazy, man. I was just looking at the calendar. I'm like, wow, I started 2 years and 11 or so days ago. But here's the thing. You get so far removed from your start, you forget how hard your start is. Does that make sense? And 100%. So I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of telling people all the time, hey, it's easy, just do it. But in the reality, the beginning does suck. But it's just one of those things where, in wrestling, we always say all the time, like, embrace the suck, right? You have to be okay. You have to walk into this thing knowing, okay, my body is addicted to running on glucose, and I've got to be able to train it to run on ketones, which is a different thing. And that isn't saying the keto diet or any of that. It's just the reality of when you eat, your food gets turned to sugar. And when you don't eat your food, you don't have it there, so you burn body fat. You know what I mean? So ultimately, it feels different to your body. And until you get used to the two different feels and being able to switch back and forth and run your body efficiently on both, you feel like crap when you're not eating. So I think it's something that you're 100% right. And I probably should do a video on that too, just starting your journey and understanding that, hey, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be tough times. But it's not that long. It's maybe, you said 3 weeks. I've heard some people say a month. I don't remember it being more than 2 weeks for me, but I do know that it was. My wife did it much. Started out doing 12 hours and then worked to 13, and she's down to OMAD now. And it never phased her as much as it did probably all of us. I'm like you. I'm like all in on everything I do. I'm either, I tell my wife all the time, it's like, I'm either 100% in or I'm 100% out. It's just the way it is. I don't start things halfway. And, if I'm jumping in both feet, and you don't have to do it that way. And it really is counterproductive to do it that way. We shouldn't look to 180 change ourselves. It should be small things that make a big impact down the line.
Yeah, 100%. So on that little segue we took, the two major takeaways I want to tell people is, one, I don't want to lose anybody by us saying it's easy, and then, somebody's struggling for 2 weeks and they're like, man, this ain't easy. So it's, it must not be for me. So that's the key. I don't want to lose anybody there. But the other thing is the biggest takeaway from that whole section is that if this is accessible to me, it's accessible to anybody. And I would be the last person in the world who could take an idea of, time restricted eating or fasting, and actually do it. I truly would be the last person. So if anybody's watching this and they're like, man, I can't do that, promise you, if I can do it, it's certainly accessible to you.
All right. Do you change any of your dietary food? Did you cut anything out of what you eat, or do you just kind of do what you've always done? How did you work that part of it?
Great question. So yeah, I'm like you. I don't do any kind of diet. The biggest dietary change I made is that I try to eat better quality foods, obviously, and cut out the junk. I do, and this is somewhat intuitive, but I'll give you credit for this idea, man. If I do a longer fast, I will a lot of times eat low carb there at the end of that, just to kind of pile on to that. Especially if I do a longer fast and I've gotten a good workout in, where I feel like I feel like I'm in fat burning, at a pretty high level, then I'll go low carb just for that sake. But no, I don't. I eat everything, man. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'll eat a oatmeal cream pie. That my daughter loves them. They're accessible, so I don't rule anything out, man. But I do eat better quality foods for sure.
I think it's funny because, once again, I just want to point out, if you're watching this video, that between the two of us, we've lost 230 pounds and we didn't cut any food out. It just goes to show you that you can do it in a million different ways. But if your hang up is, man, you know what, I really love pizza. Well, you can still lose 100 pounds, whatever the food is, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever that hang up is, it makes you feel like I can't do it because I'm going to have to cut out this one thing. No, you're wrong. You don't have to cut it out, man. You just have to work it in smart, maybe add some fasting around it, and you're good to go,
100%. It's a huge takeaway, huge benefit of this lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So if they're watching this, a conversation, they want to reach out to you and ask you a question, how would they get a hold of you, man? You got an Instagram?
I don't, man. I don't do any social media. The YouTube comment section is about as social media as I get.
There you go. YouTube comment section. Hey, right here on this video, you check back, right?
100%, man. But I'll tell you what, I'm happy to give folks my email address. If anybody has questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. To this day, I don't press fasting on anyone, but anybody who has any interest, I'll certainly talk about it. And I love what you say, man. I think I got this from you. So this is a C-dub-ism. Rather than calling it intermittent fasting, I love the intermittent feasting, because you talk about fasting, it just has such a taboo connotation. And so that's something really that I tell people, you don't necessarily have to put on a billboard exactly what you're doing. You tell people that you're cutting out the junk, you're eating less at a lower frequency. But yeah, my email address is Hendricks Horses. That's HENDRICKS Horses HORSES @yahoo.com. And anybody is more than welcome to reach out and ask any questions. One of the reasons I also wanted to do this with you is I found these success story things to be so helpful to me. Kayla did a series of them, and
yeah, absolutely,
man, they're really, really helpful. When you see real people, not just big celebrities like C-Dub, but just real people who are just like you, and they go to work, and and I'm just kidding there, but you see real people. and from so many different backgrounds. You know, I mean, you actually do it? Then you know, I just think it's very helpful. So so definitely reach out if you have any questions. I mean, you answer so many questions. It's hard really to come up with a intermittent fasting question that you haven't done a video on. So you know, kudos there. You can really get check all the boxes. I feel like when it comes to getting the info out. But let me close with this. If we're done, is my recommendation for anybody starting this process is I don't have any rules when it comes to fasting. I don't have any rules from an hour standpoint, from an eating standpoint. But the two guidelines I have is only do it if you feel like you can do it forever. You know, if you think that eating once a day is not possible for you, say even on the weekends, then don't commit to doing OMAD. Also, the biggest thing is I tell, if nothing else, if you make your weight issue as much about your health as you do how you look, your aesthetics, I think will really help motivate you, because when you're overweight, odds are, and I'm not saying you're bad if you're overweight, but if you're overweight, odds are there's health markers in your life that you may not be aware of. So if you make yourself aware of, of your baseline health and make your weight loss about as much about your health as how you look, I think it'd be a very motivating factor.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think a lot of people, reach out to me a lot. One of the top things I get is, well, how's your loose skin? That's the question people want to ask me. And I'm like, why do you all care so much? And the reason is because we live in this like ego-driven, world where it's like my appearance is a reflection of who I am as a person, when that couldn't be farther from the truth. There's some people that have great appearances that aren't very great people, and vice versa, right? But on the other side of that, what you don't know is when you're in the process, when you're overweight, you just want to look good, I guess. But and I was no different probably. But then when you lose the weight, it doesn't matter how you look because you feel good, and that's the ticket. That's the ticket. It's the $1 million ticket. I wouldn't trade if you told me today, hey, look, I'm going to add 125 on you. I'll put $1 million in your bank account. I'd say no thanks. I'm good. You know what I mean? There's no amount of money that can replace the way that I feel now and how I feel about myself and how my family feels about me. And when you get to that place, it's a beautiful place. So why does it matter if your skin got a little loose in the process or whatever it is that you're hung up on? You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's it grasp that when you're in that place, but when you like you say, put it into perspective, and you trade a little loose skin for 100 pounds any day.
Oh, not even man. Look, the most loose skin I've ever seen, and I don't go looking the videos up or do any of that. But it's the guy from Obese to Beast. I don't know if you've ever seen his channel, but John, and yeah. John's not an intermittent faster, but he lost a bunch of weight, and his loose skin is awful. Right? I would take it every day of the week if I had it, and I don't have it, but I would take it every day of the week over being overweight. It's not even a second thought. That's the way I feel about it. And at the end of the day, if you're in it to look good, you're in it for the wrong reason. And that you may not see now, but you'll see later. In your journey, most people, in the beginning they're in it for other things, but when you get through on the other side of it, I'm going to tell you what's priceless before we get going. What's priceless is when you get over the mountaintop, how good you feel about you. You can conquer the world. Jimmy can conquer the world, and you can, right? And so, and your daughter knows you can now, and your wife knows you can, and everybody around you, your mom, and all these people now have an all new respect for you, and you feel it too, and that's priceless, man.
Yeah, no, it's a snowball effect, man, for sure. It's emotion, mentally and emotionally as much as it is physical, for sure. Totally agree.
100%. Yep. All right, man. Well, hey, listen, congratulations on 105 pounds. That's amazing. And I know we only got to chat. I like to keep it around 30 minutes. We're at the 30-minute mark right here. So I want to get going, but I think we can do this again and bring some guys, some other parts of your story, down the road and do another 30 sometime, man. I'd appreciate
No,
having you back on.
no doubt. Hey, congrats to your 105 as well, and congrats on the 2 years, man. It just since it
Yeah,
escaped you, man, I'll be the first to congratulate you there.
yeah, I'm gonna hit a video up, probably post it on Monday or so about that. Now that you brought it to my attention, man, this virus really gets to you. You don't even think about some stuff that's pretty important, man. But
No
hey, I
doubt.
appreciate you, man. I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. So I'm gonna stop the recording. I'm gonna hang back with you a couple minutes. But everybody in YouTube land, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.